Namaste and welcome to Live, Love, Engage. I am delighted to be with you again for another episode, and I've got a lovely guest I was going to say in the studio. Wouldn't that be nice? I don't really have a studio. I'm coming to you from my home, and she's coming to you from her home, clear across the world, in fact. This is Tessa Stowe, who's coming to us from Bali. So welcome, Tessa, to Live, Love, Engage.
Oh, thank you, Gloria. It's so great to be here and to be connected across the world and across time zones. And as we were discussing before, I'm in the future and you're in the past.
That's right.
It's Thursday morning here and it's your Wednesday evening. So it's just, isn't it great that we can be connected, the past and the future, all at the same time as well? I mean, the wonders of technology.
I know it is. It is amazing for all of the other, things that we go through. I wouldn't trade being alive right now for anything, because I'm living my, growing up with Star Trek, and now it's a reality where I get to talk to people and see them. I remember, video phones would be so, so science fiction, and now we do it every day. I love it.
Yes. And I think Star Trek, we're living Star Trek in more ways than one.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. Well, anyway, let me share with our audience who is listening and watching on YouTube a little bit about who you are and why I thought you'd make an excellent guest for our show today. So Tessa is actually a world traveler. She was born in New Zealand, and she's lived and worked in the UK and Bahrain, South Africa, Australia. And what she does now is she inspires and empowers people to live in high vibration so they are free to live a happy, healthy, enchanted life. And she discovered the importance of doing this on her journey of grief after her husband, Mike, passed away from brain cancer in 2013, and of course, during the events of 2020. But now she has a gift to share and a burning passion to share that gift, and which is knowing how to live in high vibration. So that's intrigued me no end. And I thought, let's talk about that today. So tell our listeners and viewers out there, what exactly do you mean by living in high vibration?
It's living in high vibration. It's like we are vibrational beings. We're vibrating all the time. Everything is always vibrating. And our vibration is absolutely everything. And our vibration, or your vibration, actually gives you the life that you're living right now. Because let's, for example, say that your body, which your body is like a vibration detector, and your vibration detector is actually a fabulous method that your body actually uses to help you survive. And it's how we've survived as a human species all this time. So basically, if your body detects, your vibration detector in your body detects that you're in low vibration, it just assumes that you're in danger. So it assumes that you are basically being chased by a saber-toothed tiger. So it goes, oh my goodness, you're in immediate danger. So what it does is it switches off all your health systems, like it switches off your immune system, your growth and repair, your natural healing, because it wants to use all that energy to help you escape the saber-toothed tiger, which is the immediate danger. And let's face it, when you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, it's not the time to stop and smell the roses. So you just don't do all that stop and smelling the roses stuff when you are being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, which the body thinks is you're in low vibration. So when you are in low vibration, your body just does all these things to help you survive. And whereas when you're in high vibration, the body goes, it just goes, wow, you're safe. So your body just lets you do all those things, like it's now definitely the time to stop and smell the roses. It's all fine. And then your body does all sorts of wonderful things. It has all your health systems going, your immune systems, your growth and repair, your healing systems. So basically, that's why I say, live in high vibration so that you are free to live a happy, healthy, enchanted life. Does that make sense?
It does. And I would say, because especially I'm sort of a student of this type of thinking anyway, but I haven't necessarily used. Well, I think other people have mentioned it, but I know it's a little bit. Everybody has their unique perspective of how they come at this way of being able to live, and I'm thinking it's some people. Well, actually, I'm gonna come at it from a different angle. I think sometimes
I sense. Yes, sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say is that I think sometimes, people think high vibration and low vibration. So you were talking about that the low vibration is sort of like when you're feeling that you're in danger, but it can also be just, being sort of just, how we describe just where we're feeling low, where we're not.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I suppose I've just explained it in a very generalized way, but low vibration, the body, when you're having any of those emotions like fear, anxiety, anger, judgment, sadness, grief, those are all what I put in the low vibration categories.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Whereas when you like things like joy, love, compassion, excitement, all those are in high vibration. So my example of the saber-toothed tiger, which was related to fear, that's just an example, but it's really all those low vibration emotions, or some people call them negative emotions. Right. So yeah, so thanks for clarifying that. So it's interesting because, and this is another point, and this is what I discovered during 2020, is I thought that it was just all about your emotions, like you're feeling, these negative emotions, you're in low vibration, etc. Or you're feeling positive emotions, you're in high vibration. And I just thought it was all about your emotions. And then I discovered in 2020, when I went down some rabbit holes, is that what impacts your vibration is also what you consume through your eyes, your ears, your nose, your mouth, and your skin. So if you, for example, are consuming low vibration food, like processed food, for example, that's going to make your body basically go into that low vibration state. In other words, the body's going to go, oh my goodness, you're in danger, you're in danger. So and it's the same thing with music. If you listen to certain music, it's going to do terrible things. First of all, it does, that's an input and that affects your vibration. And then your vibration detector is always going, okay, it's simplistic, but it's going, danger, don't smell the roses, safe, smell the roses. So you can affect that just by listening to music, or as I said, by eating, right, or even putting stuff on your skin. So it's anything that's really coming in really has a huge impact on our vibration and therefore on our health, our happiness, and the life we live.
Now, have you always kind of suspected this? Because I know you realize the importance of it through your grief journey from your husband, but was it something that maybe you already kind of were interested in it, or did it just sort of happen the last few years?
I had absolutely no idea, whatsoever. Like I discovered coming through my journey of grief, I discovered, for example, that happiness is a superpower, and happiness is a superpower that you can learn and acquire. It's a skill, and I had absolutely no idea. I thought happiness was something that you were kind of chasing, and one day when someday you'll be able to, do all these wonderful things, and then you'd be happy, or you'd buy a bigger house or a better car, and then you'd be happy. I was completely screwed up on my view of what happiness was. And I really didn't understand the impact of what you consume, of what you're consuming, like music. I never understood the impact of that on your body, on your health and your happiness. So I would say that prior to my husband's death and prior to 2020, all the events of 2020 and 2021, I was clueless. I was just going along with the what we're taught, which isn't much. We're not taught in school happiness is a skill and how to be happy, and we're not taught about the importance really of and considering all these inputs through your eyes, your ears, your mouth, your nose, your skin. We're not taught it. And I'm being a bit conspiratory here, but I think it's actually used against us, because we consume a lot of things that actually make us sick, which is good for a certain industry. So I was completely clueless, basically.
So how did the grief journey then that you went on, how did that lead to this discovery then?
Well, I think because after my husband died, I really just plummeted downhill. So, I mean, I wouldn't wish it on anybody, the journey of grief after. Well, it was my partner, well, my husband, my best friend of 27 years. It was just devastating. So I was in a really bad way. And I was actually convinced that, and I remember saying this to people, I said, I will never be happy again. Because to me, if I was going to be happy, that would be completely disloyal to my husband. So that was it. My life was over, never happy again. And I was depressed. I was living in bed. I was drinking a lot of wine. New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. I figured if I drank a lot, I'd pass out. Maybe I wouldn't wake up. I was sick. I got shingles on my eye, which is just horrible. You can go blind. I just had no energy. I was just in a really bad way. And I eventually ended up having grief counseling. I resisted that, but I just had a meltdown and just ended up with grief counseling. And I basically, after a while, I told her that I was living in bed because I had no reason to get up. I mean, what for? Yeah. So, and then one day she said to me, oh, could you just do something little for me? And I thought, well, I really liked her. And I thought, as long as it's only little, I'll do it. So she said to me, well, when you wake up, just get up and put your clothes on and go across the road. And I thought, well, okay, but then what do I do? And she said, well, you can go back to bed. So I thought, oh, that's pretty easy. So the next morning I got up, put my clothes on, went across the road, went, okay, twirled around, went back to bed. So that went on for a few days. And then I think it was about day 4 or day 5. I was across the road and I went, oh, it's actually a really nice day. I think I might go for a walk. So I went for a walk and it was like I was seeing everything for the first time. I was noticing the flowers and the trees and the birds. And I went, oh my goodness, I've just had a happiness moment. I went, oh, she tricked me. And then one happiness moment led to another moment, to another moment, to another moment. And I went, wow. And then I just realized that to be happy, you can just be happy by starting with the moment and starting with something really tiny. So that led me on a journey, really. And then I discovered through one means or another that happiness, you can learn it. It's a skill. You can learn it. So, I mean, for example, anybody can learn to have happiness moments. And then I became, because I've always been very inquisitive. So I just started researching it and happiness. And then I went from happiness in the moment to happiness in self to happiness in relationships. And it just kind of went on from there. But it all just comes back to that moment that my grief counselor tricked me, really.
Well, I'm glad she did.
Yes.
And I think that's a good lesson, is that it really just does take doing something just a little bit out of
Yes.
your normal routine that you maybe gotten into, to be able to just shake things up a little bit. And I love and I applaud you for, number one, having the faith in her and just deciding that, okay, I guess it's not that big a deal, I'll do it. And that you kept doing it every day. You didn't just give up after the first day. And so that shows me that there, is something inside of you that was like, okay, you're always going to miss your husband and there's still more life to be led.
Yes. I finally got to that. I got to that turning point that there is more life to be lived, because I can assure you that when you lose, you've had experience of history yourself. It's like when you lose somebody, it's just you go through that moment of, well, maybe there isn't more life to be lived. Like, what's the point? And that's a terrible place to be in, and it's a terrible situation. And when somebody's in that, you can't, by telling them there is more life to live and everything will get better, doesn't actually help them in that situation. It doesn't help them.
Yeah.
It's like someone's got a broken arm and their arm is broken and they're in pain, and you say, oh, don't worry, because in 6 weeks your arm will be healed. That doesn't help right now. So it's just yes, so it's just really I've just lost the track of what I was trying to say on here, but it's really just connecting with where somebody's at right now, and just helping them where they're at right now with something little. And I think that's what I've learned. It's not trying to solve it. I've just had a friend now who's just lost her partner, and she's just absolutely devastated. And for me to come in and say to her, don't worry, in a year's time, you'll be absolutely fine. You'll be living a life. You'll be happy and everything. That's really not going to help her right now at all. In fact, it might even make her feel worse. So you just got to meet somebody where they're at right now, where they're at, and just give them something little just to move forward a little bit and a little bit and a little bit. And eventually it starts to gain momentum. So that's my whole philosophy of doing anything, really, is start really tiny. That's why I say I'm such a fan of happiness moments. I love happiness moments. If I'm feeling a bit down in the dumps or whatever, I just go, okay, happiness moment. Just do something tiny. Go outside and look at the sky, or listen to the birds, or
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, is like, what would be an example of some little happiness moments that someone could do, if they're kind of feeling low and they've got that low vibration going on and they want to be able to shift it.
Well, it depends. If you can get outside, then outside, it's great. If you can be out, if you can be in nature is just such a wonderful, juicy, it's just full. I always say that nature is full of happiness moments. There's all these things in nature that are bouncing up and down, go, hello, look at me. Look at me. It's just that we're so busy, we rush by and don't look at them. So if you can get out into nature, and it doesn't have to be like the wilderness or anything, it just can be just a little bit of nature, even you in a pot plant, for example. It doesn't have to be big, but just be in nature. And if you can be outside, take your shoes off, ground yourself, wiggle your toes. That's a happiness moment, just wiggling your toes on the grass and just really connecting with that. Or just looking at a plant, just looking at it, just being with it, or just looking up at the sky, or listening to the birds. Use one of your senses, and don't make it a big deal. And you don't have to do it for very long either. That's the thing, is like, if you do it for if I say go and stare at a plant for 10 minutes, you just go, oh, right, no, I'll get round to it sometime. That's too big. So just go and stare at a plant for 30 seconds. And a great thing is when you're doing these things, is put your hand on your heart. See, when you put your hand on your heart, Gloria, and then you breathe in fact, you do it. Put your hand on your heart, and then you breathe in and breathe out, and breathe in and out from your heart. So imagine the air is coming in through your hand, and it's going out through your hand. See, that will immediately, what that does is it takes you immediately out of your head, because all these thoughts and the anxiety, the fear and everything, it's all in your head, right? We're all like, we're head beings, it's all gurgitating out here. But if you start breathing in through your heart, you see, all those emotions aren't there. So that's an easy one. You can do that anywhere, anytime. In fact, when you're feeling anxious, just put your hand on your heart, breathe in and breathe out. And another thing to do, which is really easy, is laugh. Find something to laugh about. When my husband was dying, we spent a lot of time laughing. I know that sounds absolutely ridiculous, but he just wanted to watch comedies and laugh and just make light of it. So laughter is a really great one as well. Just find something to laugh about. But for me, the number one is two number ones: hand on heart and being in nature.
I love that. Yeah. And it's so easy to find something to laugh at. sometimes you might have something in your home like pets. Pets are really good for that.
Yes.
But
Oh, yes.
but
Laughter
you can,
machines.
yeah, but you can yes, absolutely. But I start my day, I go onto YouTube, and I'm sort of hooked right now on improv comedy. And so I kind of will find that and start my day with laughter, and that puts me in a good vibration for the day. So
Oh,
there's plenty
I
of things.
love that. Yes, and
Yeah.
and I love what you say, because I believe in bookending. So start your day, have a little some routines, short ones that do think that will set you up in a feeling good, laughing, just, or because it has a ripple effect. How you
Mhm.
start your day will ripple out into your day. So if you start your day with laughter, you'll find more things more in the day to laugh about, and you'll be a whole lot more lighter about it. Yeah, just even
Yeah.
what you say to yourself first thing when in the morning when you get up, is what you say to yourself will set yourself up for the day. Like if you stand up and go, today is going to be a great day, and if you're not believing it's going to be a great day, you could say, today is going to be a great day somehow. You know what I mean? Like set it
I
up,
like that.
set it up.
Yes, exactly. Yes, you set the
Yeah,
intention that it's going to be great and
set
something
the
will happen.
intention.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm sort of the live in high vibration, so you're free to live a happy, healthy, enchanted life, and I'm the happiness superpower person and all that sort of stuff. But that doesn't mean to say I don't have bad days, and I do have bad days. Sometimes I just I have bad days, especially with what's going on in the world, and I just go, oh no, and I just go and I just lie there and go, okay, remember, and I just crawl my way back with happiness moments. So I just find that such a great skill to have, is happiness moments.
Hmm.
Yes, and because we're all human beings, so there are going to be ups and downs, but it's learning, having the skills that when you're down, you know how to pick yourself up, and
Mhm.
as quickly as possible, because the more you go down, it's like quicksand, isn't it? If you go
Mhm.
down, it's like quicksand, and it sucks and sucks and sucks, and it just kind of pulls you down, and it becomes harder and harder to get up. So for me, it's really important, if you're going down, is to just have in your toolkit. And I have tools, and one of the tools is what I call the ULA methodology. Understand, let go, allow, action, to help you pick yourself up, because particularly with what's going on in the world right now, you need to have tools to basically prevent yourself going into that quicksand and move forward. And there's a lot of negativity going on in the world, and I'm not saying, and that's the other thing, is I'm not a Pollyanna. I'm not saying, I don't agree with, oh, we just ignore all that negative stuff, just ignore it, we'll just go off here and ignore it. And I'm going, well, my whole view is, no, you don't want to ignore it. You want to be aware of it, but you don't want to focus on it. You want to be aware of it, and then you want to basically take an action to move away from it. But you do definitely want to be aware of it. You want to shine the light on it, because those sort of things don't like it when the light shining on it. And then you take some sort of action. Like, for example, an example is like food. I mean, processed food is really bad for you, for example. And I just didn't really realize how bad and all that sort of stuff until when my husband died from cancer. And then 2020, I did some more research. So processed food keeps you in low vibration, leads to all sorts of illnesses, all sorts of things. So you could focus on that and do a whole lot of research and get yourself really upset about that and get yourself really worked up. Like, how can they give us all this awful food and make us sick and all that stuff? And you can get really angry. Or the other alternative is you can go, I'm aware of that. Yes, I'm just going to, processed food is not good for you. I'm just going to let it go. I'm not going to try and fix it. I'm not going to get all angry. I'm just going to let it go. And then I'm just going to take action, which means I'm going to eat really, food as natural as possible, preferably organic, all that sort of stuff. And if enough people did that, then the processed food manufacturers would go out of business, wouldn't they? So you're not trying to fix it, but you're just doing an action that takes away the need.
Absolutely.
So does that make sense? Yeah.
Oh, 100%. And now I lost what I was going to say. There was one part of that I wanted to touch on, but hopefully it'll come back to me. But it's taking action is so important. And, oh, I know what I was going to say is that, yeah, to knowing that it's okay for you to sometimes have those bad days and to be okay with that. That's one
Oh
thing I
gosh, yes.
learned is because if you just try to resist it, then it almost makes it worse. And then you have a harder time of coming out. But if you can just sort of, I've learned to just like, okay, so I'm just going to be down for a little while. It's all right. I'll just take the time to have a good cry, let it come out, and then I can go back and start looking for those happiness moments again.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, Gloria, I must tell you about um, a friend of mine, Jeanette Jones. She came and saw me one day and she said, "Oh, Tessa, you look," pardon the expression, she said, "you look like crap." And I did. I was just going through a really bad patch after my husband died, and I was resisting it and trying to, be or whatever. But she just took one look at me and knew exactly where I was at. And I said, "Yeah, I'm in a really bad day." So she said, "Look, I have a suggestion for you, Tessa." She said, "Why don't you just have a pity party day, and have a day where you just say, okay, today I'm just going to feel really sorry for myself." She said, and she said, "Think about a whole lot of things that'll make you sad." She said, "Watch sad movies." She said, "Just cry and cry and cry and do it for the whole day." So I went, okay. So anyway, so the next morning I woke up and I went, today is the day. Today is pity party day. So I sat and I cried and I cried. I sat in the toilet, I cried. I just went around my apartment, I cried. I looked at photos of my husband, I cried. I watched a movie that I'd been meaning to watch that I knew was sad, but I watched that and I cried. I mean, I cried and I cried the whole day. I tell you, Gloria, at the end of the day, I was so exhausted, right?
I was going to say, I thought so.
I was so exhausted. And I just went to sleep. I had the best night's sleep for ages. And I woke up the next day and I felt absolutely fabulous. So I'm a great advocate, is if you're really going through a bad time, just have a pity party. I did it for a whole day, but or you could do it for an hour, but whatever you do is just acknowledge it. Yes. And just go with it, because if you suppress it, actually what happens is it will eventually make you sick, right? Right. So, but I can highly recommend pity party days. And fantastic.
I love it. I love it. Well, I wanted to ask you one other thing, because I love how, that you, in reading, doing my research about you've done all this wonderful travel, and now you're living in a place that so many people, I think, just dream about visiting, Bali. So how did you end up there? And tell us a little bit about what is life like to actually live in this country.
Yeah, well, how I got here, wow, that's interesting. I came to Bali, actually it was my person I just mentioned before, Jeanette Jones. I met her randomly on Facebook because I decided that I needed to go on a spiritual, after my husband died, I wanted to go on a spiritual retreat because I was desperate, Gloria. This may sound a bit weird, but I was desperate to connect with him in the other world. So I thought I'll go on the spiritual retreat, and I found it online through Facebook. Jeanette Jones, I never met her, but she was running this retreat and it was just perfect. Everything was perfect. And it happened to be in Bali, which was a big thing for me to go to Bali, because that's where my husband and I used to go a lot. So that was confronting. But I went to the retreat and I just absolutely loved it. And consequently, just wanted to keep coming back to Bali. So I think on the next trip back, or a couple of trips back, I was staying, oh no, that's right, it happened. It was January of 2018. This little voice in my head was going, go away, you need to go away, and think, go away somewhere, go away. And I'm thinking, where will I go? And it said, Bali, go to Bali. So I went, oh, okay, I'll go to Bali. So I followed that little voice, went to Bali, and I thought, where will I stay? And I thought somebody would show me this particular place. So I stayed in this place, arrived there late at night. And the next morning I woke up and I thought, okay, I'm just going to go for a walk into the village. And I came out of this place and I got to, it was two paths. There was the path that I could see went to the main road. And then there was the path to the right, and there was all these chickens running around. And I thought, oh, I wonder where those chickens are going. I thought, I'll follow the chickens. So I followed the chickens, and then they went off off again to the right, and I thought, oh, this looks like someone's driveway. And I thought, well, if it is someone's driveway and a house, they can always kick me out. So I went down the driveway, and sure enough, it was someone's house. And I bumped into the owner of the house, his house was on the back of another resort. So his name was Brad. We chatted for a couple of minutes, and then he said to me, Tessa, you might want to come and live here. And I just thought, what a strange thing to say, and what a very strange person. I mean, I've only just met you, and you're saying, you might want to come and live here. And he said, I'll show you an apartment. So I went, okay, didn't want to be rude.
Right.
So he showed me this apartment, and it was a really nice apartment. And I just said, oh, no, that's nice. Thank you. Anyway, to cut a long story short, November of that year, I messaged Brad and I said, oh, Brad, now about that apartment. I moved into that apartment in January of 2019. So that's how I ended up in Bali, really. I just followed the chickens.
Oh my goodness. What a story. But now I understand that you're not in that apartment necessarily.
No, I've moved. All these events of what's going on causes a whole lots of changes. And that resort that I was living in, it's virtually empty now, because no one's allowed in here. So I ended up moving to Ubud, which is more in the hills. I was on the sea, and now I'm in the hills in Ubud. And I've been in Ubud for a year and moved 3 times. They started building it, but Bali's really into construction. So they started constructing a wedding venue next to my last place. So that was a bit much. I had to move. So I decided to move, and I found this amazing place, or shall I say my friend found it. It's an amazing villa right in the middle of the rice paddy fields. So now my neighbors are ducks, the rice paddy field farmers, the birds. I mean, it's just fabulous, surrounded by rice paddy fields. And it's quite busy, and I've fallen in love with the ducks. I don't think I'll ever eat another duck, actually, because I just think the ducks are so cute, and I watch them, the way they waddle through the rice fields, and they're so cute. I won't eat a duck again now.
Goodness gracious. Well,
but it's lovely because I'm living in the rice paddy fields, and because the villa I've got is owned by a lovely Balinese Dewa. I'm very much involved with all the celebrations and the ceremonies. For example, like yesterday it's your today is new moon. So yesterday morning, Dewa comes and turns up with all these beautiful Balinese offerings. I don't know if you've seen them, but they make these beautiful offerings. So because it was new moon, he just made these offerings and put offerings all around my place. I've got a small little temple, so I put offerings on the temple, offerings near my gate. So every time I've got to actually keep up with the ceremonies, because Dewa's turning up with offerings, It's like, and I always get given fruit, bananas and snake fruit and, all sorts of things. So I find I'm more part of the Balinese culture by living here in the middle of these rice paddy fields.
Oh, that's lovely. Well, I bet it's an amazing experience just to be able to be immersed in, another culture, and you certainly had opportunities to do that in your life. What's been either your most favorite experience out of all of your travels, or maybe even the most unique, would you say?
Oh gosh. The most unique. I've had so many. And it's really to do with the culture. It's like when I went to, it's hard to tell. Actually, this time last year, in fact, it came up as a memory on Facebook. Exactly a year ago, 6 years ago today, on this exact day, I was sleeping under the stars in the Sahara Desert. We'd gone into the Sahara Desert by camel, and we were supposed to be sleeping in these tents, but it was such a beautiful evening. There was 4 of us, and so we slept out under the stars, and I tell you, that was just the most amazing experience. I didn't want to go to sleep because we're in the Sahara Desert, right? And there's obviously nothing around. So when the nighttime comes, you look up at the sky, and just all those stars and the Milky Way. And I tell you that I can close my eyes and take myself there. That was just one of the most amazing spiritual experiences, is lying on the in the Sahara Desert at night looking at the sky. So yeah, that's just one of them. But I've got like the most amazing eating experience. That was, for example, eating a tarantula. I mean, because in Cambodia they eat a whole lot of, like, they eat crickets, grasshoppers, rats, snakes, tarantulas. So I was in this restaurant, right, and I thought, okay, Tessa, you're here, you've got to try these things. So they had you could order tarantulas. So I ordered these tarantulas. Wow. I think the three of them came on this plate. They put them in front of me. They were beautifully presented. Okay, and I looked at these tarantulas and I thought, oh, okay, right. And so what I did is I just took a teensy weensy leg, the smallest leg I could find, and I ate that. And I just couldn't bring myself to eat the bodies. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'll never forget it. So I looked across from me, and there was this local person sitting there, and so I said to him, I said, would you like my tarantulas? He was so excited. Really, I could have, it was just like, really? He said, you want to give me your tarantulas? He said he'd already eaten. He said, but he'll take them home and he'll sit at home with his wife and they'll eat the tarantulas. And I just like, oh, good, I'm glad you
love it.
All sorts of things. If you travel, or if you can just do it in your own backyard. If you're open to the experiences, there's so many. We're all surrounded by different cultures, and if we're open to experiencing the cultures and exploring them, it's just wonderful. And I absolutely love trying to understand different cultures and different ways of being, because there's no one exact way of being. And just even trying to understand someone's culture and having a conversation with them, that actually makes you feel happy. So that's what I call the happiness in relationships. Just connecting with people and trying to understand them rather than just judging, oh, that's right, that's wrong. I mean, for me, I could have said, oh, eating tarantulas, how ridiculous. But I was prepared to give it a go as far as a tiny little leg was concerned.
I love this story, and especially even when you were talking about, looking up and seeing the stars. I can only imagine how spectacular that was.
Unbelievable.
But what you have done is you've created over your lifetime, lots of happiness moments that you can pull up when you need one, that you've got these memories. So that's
absolutely. And but it's interesting, because until I did lots of traveling before my husband died, and so I've got lots of memories. But it's interesting. When my husband was diagnosed with brain cancer, it was 12 months from the day when we found out he had brain cancer till he died. It was from that moment on that him and I traveled a lot, even when that 12 months. We did some crazy things now, look back at it. But still it was fun. Is that we had so much fun, and I've had lots of, after I got through that really bad part, I've had a lot of fun and joy and happiness, the last few years. But I think it's souped up because I've been so much more present to it and aware of it and knowing how special it was. Whereas before Mike got his cancer, although I did a lot of great things and traveled a lot, I wasn't fully aware of how amazing and how joyful it was, if you know what I mean. I just took it all for granted. Whereas I don't take things for granted anymore. I just appreciate the moments. It's like when Dewa comes and he puts these offerings, and I just go, wow, isn't it beautiful that he's doing that? And I just get so much joy out of it. So I just think it's just been, because you can have a whole lot of experiences, a whole lot of memories, but are you really present to them? Are you really squeezing all that juice and joy out of them? So I'd say there's my life before. Well, there definitely was, but my life before Mike was diagnosed with cancer, the way I experienced moments and then how I experience them after is totally different. Does that make sense?
It does, totally. Yeah. And it's interesting, but it you know, a lot of times we have these moments in time, something happens significant that it does change our perspective about life and how we move forward. And I think oftentimes it really does awaken in us more of a, you know, our spiritual side, and we start really, you know, paying more attention to that than we did before. So, you know, even though it's hard to get through in the moment, if we, a lot of times there's some blessings that come out of it. And it certainly seems like you've had a lot of blessings that have come about since.
Oh, yes, that's right. I just say like, for example, 2013, which was, my husband died in November 2013. And people say to me, oh, that must have been a really horrible year. And I went, well, actually, 2013 was one of the most fun years of my life. It was just so much fun because Mike and I just had, we realized that it was, his time was limited. So when you know you're going to die, you live. I know it sounds ridiculous because we all know we're going to die, but we don't really live our lives like that. Right. But when we knew he was really going to die, we lived every moment. So it was just so unbelievably rich that time. So, and I think and that's just kind of carried forward because now I live life like that, knowing that I absolutely could die. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'd be, if I dropped dead tomorrow or the next minute or whatever, I'd actually be happy because I know I've lived my life.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's an important lesson that we need to keep in mind, that we can do this now. We don't have to actually wait for, you know, something to happen, you know, to a loved one or something like that, but we can choose to find these happiness moments now.
Precisely. And that's what Gloria, that's one of my missions, is that you can wait until you have what I call a thump, you know, and a thump could be like the death of a loved one, or a thump could be, you know, a devastating illness for you, or a thump could be financial loss. You can see those thumps most of the time will flick you into this kind of way of living and being. But my mission is I don't want people to have to wait till those thumps. Right. You know, I want people to be able to live a happy, healthy, enchanted life right now. And I want people to have the skills and the tools to do it right now. Don't wait until those thumps come along. I mean, I wish I'd met me, you know, the me now, way back.
Right.
I really do. But then again, if I'd met me, I needed to go through what I went through to get to where I am, so I can have the gift to share people. So, you know, I've done the journey, and now I can speed it up for everybody else. Like, you know, but this is what you can do to live a happy, healthy, enchanted life. This is what you can do to live your life, knowing that you could die at any moment. Like, live life. Don't be fearful of living life. Yeah. Just go out there and embrace it and enjoy it, and embrace it and enjoy it no matter what is going on. And I mean, some awful things right now are going on, but with all that awfulness that's going on, there's still absolute pure moments of joy and happiness that are there right before you.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's been wonderful talking to you, and I love it, the lessons that you've been sharing with us today about, really, it is about knowing that you can find these moments now. So if I wanted to ask you, if someone wants to have more tools about how they can get their happiness moments, and they want to be able to maybe learn a little bit more from you about how to live a happy, healthy, enchanted life, what's the best way for people to contact you?
Well, I highly recommend that they download my Living in High Vibration Roadmap. And you can find that out at lhvroadmap.com. That's lhvroadmap.com. And that roadmap has also got my happiness superpower roadmap. So it's got 2 roadmaps in there, and it's got 2 videos which explain the roadmaps. And that will give you, that's a good way to get started. And then you'll also every week or so get a video from me, which basically just expands on that and gives you extra tools or extra information to help you live a happy, healthy, enchanted life. So yep, just go to lhvroadmap.com and download the roadmap.
Very good. Awesome. Well, I'll be sure to have that in the show notes. So if you're somewhere right now where you can't write that information down, don't worry. Just make sure that you head over to liveloveengagepodcast.com later on, and then you'll be able to get the episode and be able to get that information. So thank you so much for starting your day with us today, because I know it's early yet. And I appreciate you being with us today, Tessa, and sharing your wisdom and your journeys and all of that with us. And I know what I'm going to call this episode. It's definitely going to be like happiest moments, I think will be the name of this episode. So I appreciate that.
Actually, on my website, I've got a whole list of my happiest moments, actually. Yeah. Oh, Gloria, thank you. It's been fabulous. Thank you so much. What a great way to start my day.
Thank you. And thank all of you out there listening and watching on YouTube. I hope you're already subscribed. If you're not, if you have come across this somehow, I hope you will subscribe to the YouTube channel or subscribe on, actually you can go to podchaser.com, which rather than going to like Apple and all those other places, it's a great place to be able to listen to a whole bunch of different podcasts. So check it out there. And until we meet again, as always, I encourage you to go out and live fully, love deeply, and engage authentically.
Love that. I love it. Bye.